Welcome to Hero Club members only.
The show where the founders of Hero Club talk to guests and players from the show about their lives, careers, and really whatever the hell else we want. I'm Nick Williams.
And I'm George Primavera. Let's do this! Welcome to Hero Club members only. Glad to have you. This is where we talk about all the things that we don't get to say on the show, 'cause that's not our thing. Welcome to Hero Club members only.
Hey, George. How's it going?
Hey, buddy. It's going good. How are you?
I'm great.
You little flannel boy.
We had several botched openings to this episode. It's been a
And
while.
a real fight.
And a real fight. And we're gonna air it all on. We're gonna take it all out on our guest.
Oh, boy.
Don't you fucking talk yet. Don't you talk yet. George, it's been a while since we've done members only, but I'm very excited to get back into it. We're doing a new format to the show. I think when we decided to go back into doing these members only episodes, initially I think it was just like to fill space while we kind of dealt with the initial quarantine and what was going to happen, and thinking it was just going to be like a month. And now I think really it's a really great opportunity to actually introduce people to our PCs and kind of like classic regulars of the show, as along with guests, and really kind of talk to them about who they are, and so people actually know who they are, because we don't actually get to do that on Hero Club.
And we have a very fun person to talk to today. You would have heard him on many seasons of Hero Club's past, as many of your favorite PCs and NPCs, and he is especially prominent in this upcoming season, The City of Mirrors, for which the prologue is already out. So you can download it anywhere you'd like to listen, and episode 2 is on the way next week. It's Theobald Daringcroft himself, Mr. Marty Abbe-Schneider. What's up, Marty?
Hey, Marty. Now you can speak.
Now?
Yes, now.
Yeah.
Now, Marty.
Yes.
Now
Great.
you can speak.
Terrific. I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on. I just, sorry for the timid start. It's Nick, basically the whole time we were getting set up, Nick was like, "Don't you fucking talk!" Because it was a wonderful shit show. I'm glad to be here for the whole process from start to finish.
I'm so glad that you. I mean, look, you've been in Hero Club from the get. You were famously part of the lost season of Hero Club that we occasionally talk about, that you cannot find anywhere and will
North
never
Pole
find
escape.
anywhere.
We're burying it.
I was going to say, do
Redacted.
we have it somewhere?
Probably somewhere,
I
maybe.
think it might be uploaded on the Libsyn. It's just not released.
I don't know about that.
Maybe you deleted it.
Either way, it's fine.
It has some gems. There's stuff about it that I like, but truly every season keeps getting just better and better and more streamlined. So, and we had to start somewhere, and
that sure is the start.
Well, I think at this point we've kind of cannibalized all the good stuff for
100%.
we have.
better
Absolutely.
seasons, which is what we should have done, because they're much better versions of it.
Oh, totally.
In the seasons that are out. Yeah, I mean, you've been with us from the beginning. You're part of like the OG team. You're an associate producer on the show, and also you do all of the artwork for the show. You are an artist who does all of the character art and all the episode art and posters that everybody gets to enjoy when they listen to the show and follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, how about that City of Mirrors poster?
Oh my
damn.
God. It's so good.
Damn.
It was so fun this season with City of Mirrors to start doing like a movie style poster. Like I tried a little bit with like the Wild Hunt. I'm really proud of like that poster, how it looks horror movie-y. But like
Very cool.
adventure movies and action movies have like such classic, like you have a guy with a big head, you have a slightly smaller head, and you have a couple action and like City of Mirrors getting to do that for the gram was really a lot of fun. And like looking at old
it's nice, I imagine, doing a genre that is so visual that like it's easy to just be like, we're gonna do this action shot that I've seen 1,000 times.
Absolutely. And not for like not for content, but for like layout, just looking at like old Indiana Jones posters and stuff, is like so great. And also for like color, like that whole poster is like not all orange, but it's like very deserty, warm tones, and like it's all the Indiana Jones things look kind of like that. That's what I'm going for. And it's just this whole season, like the episode art too, has been tons of fun to draw. I can't wait to put those out.
Yeah, there are some really like top-notch bangers coming down the pipeline for people to see. I'm very excited for F2 with Jack's character, who is just he's like a Swedish chef Muppet that is coming onto the scene, and you managed to capture not just Jack perfectly, but Jack doing this character perfectly. Like, if he were cast as this character, this is exactly what he would look like, doing the exact face he's making in the poster. It's so good.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was, it helps that that Jack is an old friend. Like, yes. I know Jack. But it also helps just having the iPad and the digital. I transitioned to digital, like, maybe if we're on, is this like our 8th or 9th season?
The first 10th. Season was Here There Be Monsters, was the first digital season.
This
is our 10th.
Okay. That's right.
Then you know season. What? I was going to say I've been doing it for like half the time, but at this point I've been doing digital like longer than I've been doing physical, Hero Club wise.
Yes.
Yes, right.
That's true.
Which is great, because
and it gets noticeably better. Like, I mean, you had the steepest learning curve of all time, and you can see, like, Here There Be Monsters is the first time you ever used the iPad. And it was, like, during that season, and you can see, like, between episodes, you get, like, exponentially better, and then by the end of it, you're, like, professional grade, like, digital artist.
Thank you for saying professional guy, I don't know about that, but I definitely had, like, a hard time early on, and then realized, like, oh, I can cheat. I can use references and like not just copy the references, like I can put them in a layer and trace them and then just draw the arm different because that's what needs to be different, or like whatever. And
hey, don't show your trade secrets.
I shouldn't, but
we're live, Marty. We're not live.
I know, but being able to go back and like just as an exercise redraw Drake Muldoon was really fun, because I tried to draw it exactly as much like as similar as possible to the original drawing, but it was so fun it felt a lot like a lot of people do, like, here's a drawing I did when I was 5, and now that I'm like a great artist I did this, and this was like, here's a drawing I did when I was 25 and now I'm 25 and a half, and like,
look at the difference,
like a little later here's my other drawing. Well, I don't know how old I was when I drew.
In addition to being a great artist,
Marty, outside of Hero Club, kind of separate from Hero Club, you and I are writing partners.
That is
we write
true.
TV together and movies, and we've written a bunch of crazy different projects, from a live-action Buzz Lightyear pilot that almost made it to Disney Plus to a found footage show about Paul Rudd surviving in the wilderness. What would you say is your absolute favorite idea that you've had that there's no way in hell will ever get made?
That there's no way? Oh, Jesus.
Because I know we have 4,000 of these sitting in like a trash pile. But like, I mean, what's your favorite?
I definitely feel like, as a huge nerd, and like, I don't know about you, Nick. I think we've talked about it. First and foremost, like, the reason that I want to tell stories and be a writer and, you know, possibly performer one day or whatever, is I'm a fan. I'm a massive fan of entertainment, especially sci-fi, fantasy, and action adventure. You know, I'm a huge nerd, and I, ever since before we partnered up, have loved the idea of a real 4-quadrant live-action Buzz Lightyear show. I think that would be like amazing, sort of PG-13 with plenty of like sort of Captain America style fights. Beyond that, we had an idea that we may still at some point write this. I don't know if it'll ever get made, but Die Hard, except the John McClane figure is a stripper and a cake for someone's birthday party.
My favorite. And I do really love that idea.
He or she hears like a massacre going on outside of the cake while she's waiting to pop out, and then eventually, like, has to fight her way through do what John McClane does in Die Hard, but it's a stripper who is waiting to pop out of a cake as the impetus for the movie.
Yes.
I think it would be really funny.
That one is very good. I am a big fan of that.
Danny McBride's in that movie to me for some reason.
Yeah,
right away.
Danny McBride is the Hans Gruber of that movie.
Yeah,
sure.
right. Yeah. Yes,
He's
exactly.
the Hans Gruber. He's the Nakatomi.
It's the Tampa version of Hans Gruber.
He's the stripper. He could play anyone in that movie, and he would do great.
Yeah, that's right, George. It's a Die Hard that takes place in Florida.
Florida, right.
Yeah. These are just like swamp people taking over the biggest company in Tampa.
Yeah.
The biggest corporate oil center.
Or because it's Florida, like a Cuban figure, like a Cuban mafia guy with a big cigar, Jimmy Smits type of person.
The other day I was watching Harry Potter, and I think I was watching episode 5. You know, I was watching the 5th movie. Watching the 5th movie, and I was like, oh man, McGonagall's so cool. I wish there was a show about McGonagall. And then I was like, oh, that's fan fiction. What I'm thinking of is fan fiction.
Yes. Except there could be... Dude, once Disney buys Harry Potter, we're going to get all those shows.
The McGonagall Chronicles? Yeah. Hey, Marty, let's get as far away from Harry Potter as possible.
Yes, please.
I have a question about some deep history. As a veteran of Bard College's ultimate Frisbee team, Bombardment, is there one moment of disc victory that sticks out to you as your 5 seconds of Olympic glory?
Did you guys research your own best friend before doing this?
I don't know what you're talking about, Marty. I want to hear about your disc glory.
Yeah, I've had a couple good plays that I was really happy with. I guess growing up in kids sports before I ever went to Bard College, I was always the kid who won the quote unquote sportsmanship award, because everybody gets a trophy. And I would say it's a great argument against participation trophies, because the kid getting the sportsmanship award, or sometimes most improved, I was so bad that I never even got most improved. But as a kid athlete, that sportsmanship award does not mean you're good at sports. Yes. It means you're terrible at sports, and maybe you're funny. And I know I'm not good at sports. Still not sure about the funny thing. At Bard, the thing that on the team, the thing that I'm probably most proud of is my junior year, the outgoing senior class. I think there were 2 captains, or there was 1 captain in that class, but the captains were in the senior class, and we had a Frisbee awards at the end of the year. You can already see there's a little bit of a parallel between the end of my Little League baseball season and the Frisbee season.
Yes.
And there were all these bullshit awards going on, and then there was one that was sort of a more seriously considered version of most improved, that was these purple shorts that was who was kind of I think it was an MVP sort of
love it
award, and purple was the team color, and I got this pair of shorts that came with this note that was written on the back of a Frisbee, and it said something along the lines of I still have it at home, but there was definitely a line. It started, "Marty, you've gone from noob to playmaker," and that meant the world.
They had to roast you in the middle of the award.
Well, no. Because I started
from complete noob.
No, my freshman year, I was just as good at sports as I was when I was 10, which is to say terrible at sports. And
see, I think that's unfair, because I think that, and we talked about this a little bit because we were doing pickup baseball games for a while, and you hit a home run in front of your father, which is something that I feel like you got some true blue vindication from that.
That definitely felt really good. I think the big crossover is really just going from kid to adult. I think I actually am a pretty athletic person. And as a kid, I just did not understand why for sports. And I still don't understand why people get so into sports, but I understand it enough to, if we're playing a pickup game of something, I will try hard and have a good time. And I'm into it now. When I was a kid, my dad has this story that he loves going back to, which is, I think it was kiddie soccer. And I once asked my dad, like, we're driving home from, I think, a game. And I turn to my dad or look at the front seat because I'm that young. And I go, Dad, why should I be hungry? And my dad's like, what? And I go, the coach said I'm supposed to be hungry out there. Why do I need to be hungry? And my dad like looked in the rearview mirror and just goes like, you can stop after this season. We're almost done. Like,
just forget about it. We're done.
We're almost done.
We're almost done with this.
I truly thought sports were my job because I didn't understand money. I didn't get that there was like money tied to my dad leaving and coming back every day, but I was like, I knew he had to go somewhere. He was supposed to be there for all day and then come back. And I was like, my dad's supposed to do that. Sports must be my thing I do. Every other child I know does it. Like,
Yep.
I'm supposed to go to this and do this. It's
You're
expected
tired and
of me.
miserable after.
Yep.
And like I was seeing my family recently, and their back and forth was my mom was like, he liked to do it, and my dad was like, no, he didn't. Like he thought he was supposed to, and he was a good boy, and that is 1,000%.
He was just a good boy.
Yeah. A good boy is the like a nice young man is the image that I've cultivated since forever. I'm just starting to run out of that currency.
I think it is really just like what you're saying is like not just you understand why you're doing it, but also your body now is capable of an athletic feat. Like when you're I was like a tiny fat child whose body was trying desperately to catch up to how fast I was growing tall. And like the fact that like people were expecting me to be like an athlete at that period is like now of course I can hit a baseball because I have big man arms and reach and know how long my arm is when I put it out in front of me. Like
and like understanding of like what happens when you hit the baseball and like what you do after that. Like I struck out in T-ball when I was a kid. I just kept hitting the stick that it was on.
Aww.
Well, there's no like. I mean, it's no surprise that like
it's humiliating.
Every T-ball game you go to, a kid will hit the ball and then stand there not understanding that they have to run to first base. Like you should fully understand what the game is before they throw you into a game.
That's not how war works, Nick.
That's true. You're right.
And that's what T-ball is for.
They should bring back that Mayan headbutting game, like where the ball is a head, like the one that's from Road to El Dorado, which I assume is 100% accurate. They should bring that back and have it be a little league sport in Pacific Palisades, California.
They really should. I would love that. Well, Marty, we talked a little bit about your art, and everyone knows. You know, everyone who listens to the show will know you from your character art. But what people might not know is your roots in cartooning and illustration. Can you explain the origins and concept for Marty and the Bear?
Oh, Me and the Bear?
Yes, Me and the Bear.
That is a cartoon that I haven't gone back to that in a long time, but it's a comic series based on my brother, Leo. I have two brothers, one of whom is named Marty Abbe-Schneider. I just helped move him to Las Vegas, Nevada, because he works in sports gambling.
Right, that's a good detail to know.
Yeah, that's why I was.
Leo is like the you in the rom-com after you take off your glasses and undo your ponytail, right? That's kind of like an accurate way to describe Leo.
What you're getting at, Nick, and this is another way you've described him, is he's sort of like a hulked out version of me. He's me if you added like a couple extra pounds and a couple extra inches of height, and he has sort of like
a raw confidence.
To most people, like a confident, gregarious personality, and to me, there's a little bit of like, as brothers have, like a ball-busting-y quality. And as an older brother who's a little smaller and certainly meeker, it's like definitely.
Yes. He was like a younger brother who was a bully.
It's been an interesting dynamic. I don't know if I would go. You can say bully for lack of a better word. He's like an older brother in an 80s movie who's a younger during the early 2000s.
Yeah,
that's tricky, man. Damn.
But this is to go back to the comic you were asking about. Me and the Bear is basically I take interactions we've had, quotes verbatim, and I draw myself as a cartoon, and then I replace Leo with a grizzly bear who is saying those things.
And
I did not know you
fitting.
took the quotes. That's amazing.
It is like
some of them are like made up, but like a lot of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them are straight up what he says.
It's like shockingly fitting for you interacting with a grizzly bear. What is being said, and it's really funny. It's a great cartoon.
Man. Yeah, there's my dad definitely as a person who has to interact with both me and my brother is a fan of both of them. I've also had him or friends of his pitch that Leo and I should go on The Amazing Race, which I think would be excellent television.
That would be very good.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
I would watch the shit out of that for sure.
I'd do the shit out of it. If you're listening, Mark Burnett, I don't want to put together the audition tape, but we'd do it. We'd come on The Amazing Race.
If Mark Burnett, like, if you're ever sitting alone and you're thinking, like, man, I wish I could have Sandy from the beginning of Grease and Sandy from the end of Grease on screen together, completing tasks around the world, look no further.
There's I recently said to him, like, hey, if I ever make millions of dollars or whatever, like, I would love Phil Rosenthal style to have a food and travel show, and I'd love you to take me places on the food and travel show, Leo. And his reaction, instead of like, oh, what a nice thought, what a fun hypothetical, was just like, oh yeah, Marty, go ahead and make your food and travel show. Call me when we're doing it. Like, it was like a
have like your people call my people.
Oh yeah, you.
It's like
awful.
Okay. No, it's not awful. It's Leo. It's how it goes.
Let me know when you're doing that travel show, Marty.
Call me when you got the currency behind it.
So we're gonna work on your
I'm working
audition
on
tape for The Amazing Race, and I think before we get to that, let's start with another audition tape, Marty. We know that one of your great dreams is to be on Duty Calls with Doug Mand.
Yeah, I don't even know if that show's happening anymore.
Well,
good.
We know that you need to tell, you've got all these incredible need to poop stories.
Oh,
God, is there one that you'd be willing to throw our way?
No, guys.
Especially now that show doesn't exist.
Especially if that show doesn't exist, you might as well put it out somewhere.
But I think they're just sort of perpetually on hold. They got, by the way, if Doug Mand is listening.
Well, would you be willing to throw us one with the hopes that dream is still alive?
Anyone who doesn't know what this is, which is everybody listening, there's a show called Duty Calls, spelled Doodie, and it's just basically mostly UCB comedians.
Right here.
Yep. Yeah, I am. Talking about shit stories. It's a great premise for a podcast and an appropriate venue for this story that I'm about to tell. If poop makes you squeamish, just please skip ahead or turn this off. I'm so sorry. The guys asked me this question. I didn't want to do this. So.
Oh, no.
I was backpacking in the Great Gulf Wilderness in New Hampshire with my very dear friend.
What a start.
What a start. Oh, we just said that at the exact same time. Continue. Go ahead.
This is my very dear friend, Sam Osborne, who, by the way, for all intents and purposes, he's generally much more comfortable than I am about poop. And it's like a 4 or 5 day trip, and I know that day 4 we're gonna make it to like a pre-built shelter where there is an outhouse, and because some of this trail we're on goes along the long trail, and if for anyone who backpacks, that there's some hiking trails and stuff have like a pre-built lean-to shelter with a caretaker up there or a lockbox, and you can either honor system put money in the lockbox, or usually you give it to the caretaker and you get to stay there. Yep.
And by the way, when you say backpacking, Marty goes on with Sam on expeditions where they summit mountains and ice climb and all sorts of crazy shit that I would never attempt.
I feel
like backpacking, I want people to know that you're on an excursion. This isn't like a walkabout.
I would more say that Sam brings me. Anytime I've gone by myself or with other people, it is backpacking the way that I'm talking about it. And yes, I would say it's a little more intense when I do it with Sam. That guy is made a different shit. He does 72-hour like races in Wales where like he just drinks a bunch of beer beforehand and after, and that's like his fuel and his like replenishment. It sounds wild. Oh, you guys have met Sam, right?
What?
Yeah. Wait, so you find shelter.
Oh, I guess. Oh, yeah. Continue. So I got to hear about the shelter.
Yeah, I'll tell you all about it. But we do not get to this shelter, Nick. You're ahead of me.
I'm sorry.
Had we gotten to this shelter, everything would be fine.
So,
you're planning on getting to the shelter,
and we haven't summited. We were supposed to summit like day 1 or 2, I think, and then we had really bad weather, and I was not in as good shape as Sam, as one might guess. So we went back down. We like sort of bivouacked technically the first night. We had the tent, but we were not in like an established campsite, and then camped the next day. And thus far, by the way, I've eaten like meat and bread and like dehydrated food. So I haven't gone in a couple days. And sort of day 3, I feel like I could, but I know that day 4, we're supposed to get to this like shelter. And I'm like, you know what? There's an outhouse there. I'd rather make it to the outhouse. Like, we'll see. And seriously, if you don't like poop and you don't want to hear it, skip ahead. We're getting to the part that you don't want to hear. So next day, it's also kind of rains the next morning, so it's like a little icy and stuff, but it clears up. But we're hiking a good amount of the next day, not a good amount, all the next day, and this is sort of classic Sam. He gives me an optimistic explanation because he assumes, when he first does the calculation in his head, that we're going to be going Navy SEAL speed through the forest like he would if he were by himself. But he it's also a little bit, there's like an elf dwarf dynamic with us both, where he will lightly, he's like a shorter guy than me, he's 5'6", 5'7", and certainly lighter than me, and he'll sort of skip lightly along the snow, and then I behind him will fully fall through and like knock saplings out of the ground, and like there's a little bit of a Legolas and Gimli vibe going on, which is part of the fun and also less fun for me. And but we're on our way to the thing, and I keep asking, and he's being really patient about it. He's a good, trail partner to have, but he's definitely, I can tell he's a little annoyed by me asking so much, and I think he knows that it's because I have to shit, because it's not our first trip together. And this is not the only story I have.
He knows the signs.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm just thinking about like how close we are. And like also, I forgot to mention, there's another cabin that we were planning to go to, and we weren't sure if this one was open or closed. And we do make it to this cabin. And I'm like, thank God. And it's closed. So, And then I'm like, well, and at this point I have told Sam, like, hey, I have to shit and I need us to get there soon because I'm kind of holding it for the outhouse. And, but it's closed, and I go to check the outhouse. That is padlocked as well, which I'm like, that's just cruel. You could have kept this open. It's not like a bear's going to come in and steal all the poop or whatever. But so we press on, and at this point, it sort of becoming clear that we're not getting to this outhouse till like late in the day, like 4 or 5, like maybe even 6. And because Sam has at this point, like, we've looked at the map and been like, okay, we're going to this one instead. And I asked Sam one more time, where sort of I can picture the slant we were on the trail. I'm like, hey, like, brass tacks, like, are we going to make it within the next hour? And he's like, no. And I'm like,
brass tacks.
And I'm like, give me the shit kit right now. So I go out into the woods, and I'm pretty sure I hope we were the only people around who we could hear. So I'm up against a log. I drop trowel. I've dug a hole, like I've dug the appropriate sized hole, which you're supposed to do 6 inches, and I let fly. It's the worst thing. It's one of the worst poops I've ever taken, but also the most relief filled ones. I'm screaming while I do this because into nature. I'm like, ah! And I know no one's around. So I'm like, fine, I'll do this. And I can hear him from 200 yards away call out like, not, are you okay? But he's like, why are you screaming? And I'm like, you don't understand, Sam. There's 3 days of poop inside me. And final, and he like makes such a big deal about me screaming and like, oh, don't be a baby, like whatever. And I'm like, you know what? You come look. Or no, he actually, I never would have suggested that.
Look?
No, I never would have suggested that. He goes, I kind of want to come look. You're making such a big deal out of this. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Okay, come look. You said it. And I'm sorry if I'm peeking. But like, we've had this back and forth. He's like, come on. Like, he's the type of person who's like, I've pooped everywhere. Like, it's fine. I'm like, you come look at what happened and you'll understand. And he comes over, and again, 6-inch deep hole, and then I filled the hole, and then 6-inch high pile.
Oh,
no.
And he sees it, and he's like, you got to bury that, and we got to get out of here right now. Like,
you ruined nature. You need to leave.
Not like you ruined nature, but he was like, if you weren't here and I saw that, I would think like there's a scary animal somewhere around here that's going to get me. And he also noticed that like the way he talks about it, Sam goes, well, there's a looking at it at first, he saw like what he thought was the pile. And he's like, oh, all that fuss over that, until he realized there was a color gradient, and he was looking at the top color gradient on top of the pile. And I'm so sorry, everyone listening at home. They told me to tell this story. I did not come on. And they said, Nick texted me before we did this. God. We're gonna go like a little. Nick texted me before we did this, like, hey, we're gonna go like a little deeper and ask more questions about you.
Don't say deeper right now.
Sorry, but we're gonna ask more personal questions, like on this podcast. Not just about Hero Club. I did not realize this was what he meant.
Well, what I actually said is I want the audience to understand who you are, Marty, and I think that this is exactly how they do that.
No. Don't say it, but God. So we make it to the. That's basically the end of the story. We make it to the shelter. I use the outhouse to pee, and sort of curl up in the fetal position. Oh. But it was very gratifying that he looked and was like, "I understand. I understand the noise."
Oh God!
Wow, that's awful.
Well, look, Marty, as a sort of follow up to that. Speaking of your body, it is well known within our friend group that you have an infuriatingly fast metabolism, to the point where it's borderline the Flash style. I just took a shot and went through the entire stages of drunkenness and sobered before anyone else felt anything.
It's 100%. It's like if I had all the shitty parts of the Flash's powers. I can't heal fast. I can't run fast. I shit fast, and I don't get drunk. That's kind of
true. And you're like the only person, if you like eat an edible, it's not like wait 2 hours. It's like immediately you have the effects of whatever it is.
Not always. It's immediately all at once, but it could be that I wait 2 hours. It could be that I wait half an hour. But it does not start to hit, and then it's like, oh, there I am.
It's
like
here. 2x4. Yeah.
It gets me right away. Well, and it's usually it's smaller amounts than anyone else. So I may not get drunk. I get really high off of like 3 milligram chocolates.
Right. But so all right. So along with that crazy metabolism, you have kind of it's like sort of led you to get extremely creative with food creations. And to make, a mockery of God with them. So what is the wildest food combo you've made that worked? And also what's one that was too much of an abomination to be allowed to live?
Oh, yeah.
Because you're like, on a soft scale, you're like the guy who like has gotten like the Chipotle with the quesadilla outside. That's like the tippy tip of the iceberg. But like... Yeah.
I mean, tonight I'm... Go ahead.
No, like, you just used to text me all the time from college being like, I had our fry cook whip me up something crazy.
So tonight I'm gonna actually make Korean carbonara, but I'm following a recipe for that and serving it to Becca. Like that's actually going to be allowed and fine.
Yeah. I'm talking about more
yeah.
of like your crazy like food dare type stuff.
Sure, I've definitely done like a pizzadilla. In college, I did a lot of stuff. There was the pizzadilla. There was like burgers chopped up in a quesadilla.
What's the pizza? Stop. What's the pizzadilla?
Pizzadilla is a regular people have done this. You can do it one of two ways. You can either do a quesadilla with mozzarella and pepperoni on the inside, or you can do
a pizza
quesadilla with the normal, and then that serves as the dough for pizza on top with mozzarella and pizza. I did the latter.
Oh, so you would replace the dough?
Yeah,
with a tortilla.
Because in my head, what a pizzadilla was to me was a calzone.
Yes.
No.
Sure. A folded over pizza in half.
Yeah, or you just ate a pizza folded in half. Right, that's what I thought it was.
If we're really thinking about like ingredients, a calzone is kind of crazier than both of those things anyway. I once had a wrap or a burrito thing at the like down the road cafe, which is the Bard College like sort of non cafeteria like option for the meal plan.
Yeah.
I was once like, hey, just give me everything that goes in the deep fryer in the burrito. So it was mozzarella. It was
That's
mozzarella
what I'm
sticks.
talking about.
That's the stuff.
Mozzarella
That's the stuff
sticks,
right
chicken tenders, curly fries.
Jesus Christ.
I'm sure there was more stuff, but like all of those things inside a wrap with, I'm sure, like a ridiculous amount of like the spicy chipotle sauce.
Yeah.
There was one time where the way the meal plan worked was your item, like whatever you were going to get, for me it was always one item. For everybody else, it's like a whole meal. It's like a sandwich, chips, and a drink. But it worked where it was a point system. You had 12 points to spend, and whatever toppings you were going to get were going to be some points. The base of a baseline, a certain sandwich would be a certain amount of points, and your drinks and things would be certain points. I never got anything besides a sandwich. Even on like a tame day, it was always toppings and sauces and stuff going into the sandwich, and then a free cup of water, and that was it. I once went with
Insane.
Sam Osborne yet again, my trail buddy. He and I were once like, let's make something using 24 points. We're going to use 2 meals and
to make one food item?
Yeah. So I'm gonna and we called it the Dread Fort, which for any Game of Thrones or Song of Ice and Fire fans,
oh my God, the Dread Fort
is the name of the Bolton fortress where they skin people alive.
What was the Dread Fort, Marty?
A 24
a 24 pointer.
It sounds like a deer you hunted.
Yeah, let me see.
A 24 pointer.
Let me see how specific I can get, because it's been such a long time and I don't remember everything, but
ballpark it for us.
What we definitely did was we got a quesadilla, which we had them chop up I believe a 12-ounce hamburger patty. Could have been a quarter ounce. No, not 12 ounce. Half pound. A half pound or quarter pound hamburger patty chopped up inside the quesadilla with pepper jack cheese, corn and bean salsa, barbecue sauce, and chipotle mayo.
Jeez.
Now we have our bread. We cut that in half, and in between, I'm pretty sure it was just every single meat on the menu with another 2 types of cheese, including like cheddar and possibly mozzarella. And I think every other type of meat, by the way, was I believe it was grilled chicken, turkey, ham, chicken tenders, and maybe another patty. But basically, it was 2 halves of quesadilla cut in half, and then like it basically made like what looked like a slice of like cold cut pie, except it was hot because everything was made. Oh, and roast beef. Roast beef's in there too.
Cold cut pie.
But also it was not cold. Like everything was thrown on the grill, obviously.
Of course. It was piping hot.
Oh,
but like
God.
deli meat pie, basically, where
fresh out of the fires of hell.
It was like wedge triangular shaped. And then that was cut in half once again, and we each had one of those. And it was actually between that and the everything fried in the burrito, I'm not sure which one
was more of a you
absolute
laughing
nightmare.
in God's face.
Well, they're both me laughing in God's
demanding
face,
to be smoten.
But by my own standard, I'm not sure which one was like, this is the one. This one's totally fine, and this one is maybe too much. Like between the two, I couldn't tell you.
Frankenstein, if you were a Dr. Frankenstein and you churned both of those creatures out of your laboratory, which one would you have to kill?
Both. I guess probably the Dreadfort, just by virtue of the fact that it's so much stuff.
Yeah,
like at least
the
everything with
the movie.
Yes.
At least all the fried stuff. Like I did that using one meal swipe. Like
24-pointer.
24-pointer. Marty, we've now gotten to the section of the show where we ask the really hard-hitting questions. So
you already asked me about my poop.
Yeah, well, that was nothing compared to
Which, by the way, the food thing kind of does put in perspective, like, man, maybe there's a reason for that story. Like, sorry.
Yeah, it sure do, don't it? It sure do. It's time to exploit our guest's armor class and attack with advantage. These are some critical questions.
Oh, God. Okay.
Marty, how would you explain your fear of street pigeons?
I have spent my whole life trying to explain my fear of pigeons. It's what my my application essay was for colleges. I explored that. I don't know, man. They're gross. They're gross and they have weird heads. And like sometimes weird feet. Like they shit on their feet and then the acid in their shit like melts their feet. Like they're missing toes and stuff. I hate pigeons. And if we're talking about anything with that head, like pigeons, doves, I don't care for chickens that much.
Anything with that head.
I don't like that they're all flappy and they'll walk towards you just like, and for no reason.
You do hate.
You don't like that they're bold.
In high school, we would be at like 3rd Street Promenade, and I would just see you just like clench, and I'd be like, "Where is it? Is it under my
everywhere?
Feet? Everywhere
Also,
at 3rd Street Promenade."
I've definitely been eating outside and had one like walk over my foot, and like I can't have one under my table. Like
right,
I don't.
Understood. Now, Marty.
Yeah.
You're physically incapable of burping. Is that correct?
Well, define burping.
Not what you do.
You know what?
Describe what you
First
think
and
burping
foremost.
is, and then we'll tell you.
What most people call it is ghost mouth, and you guys should feel free to splice as many of them as you have into this. I've done it on mic many times. Usually, actually not usually, but pre-COVID, we would always record, whether it was in the studio or Nick's podcast nook in his apartment, which is a laundry area.
Our humble beginnings.
For the expose.
We would usually do it in a way where it was like we had all arrived, only had so much time to Postmate some food, especially if we didn't have like a big head, like a big guest. We would just arrive, Postmate some food as fast as possible, and then like
chestnut that shit down.
Yeah, inhale it. I've watched George drink beans, like baked beans out of not with a spoon or anything. I've watched him put
slurp.
A delivery.
It comes in a cup, guys.
A plastic delivery cup.
It comes in like a Tupperware. That's not the same as a cup.
It comes in a
and I've
cup.
watched him
It's
slurp
just the right
beans
same
out of it like a hobo trying to seek his fortune.
I found many a fortune at the bottom of a cup of beans.
Oh, God. But, so, the point is, I'd eat really fast, and then where most people could just burp once and be done, my body would sort of do like I'll try to pretend to do it, like a...
Like your soul is trying to rip itself out of your body through the mouth.
Yeah, or like Indiana Jones I rewatched recently. I watched Raiders, and there's a part where he's in like a tomb, and some dead bodies come out, but they've been been entombed, and then they fall out, and it's like the last breath that was stuck in their lungs when they died finally releases. I think it's what that sounds like.
Jeez. It's a death rattle. You are death rattling all the time.
Absolutely.
Marty, in college, you made something called a sad boy treat. Can you please elaborate?
Yeah, I had a very difficult time during sophomore and maybe into junior year, I had a really bad back injury. Like, I wasn't able to go abroad because of it. I mean, not that I applied to go abroad. I was too busy dealing with the back injury, where, like, I almost couldn't walk. I was in unspeakable pain every day. And it was a period where I was struggling with what my major should be. Like, I was miserable in my current major and wasn't sure, like, how to fix it. I wasn't getting into the classes I wanted to. Any kids applying to college listening, just pick a major. Do not apply to any school as undecided. It's a myth that you can apply to as undecided and still get into classes. Just pick one. You can always change it later. But I was miserable at the time. And maybe a little homesick. So a sad boy treat is what I would do at the cafeteria, not the on-campus cafe. I would get an ice cream cone because there was an ice cream bar. Forgo the ice cream, and then go to the peanut butter area and scoop peanut butter into the cone. If they had chocolate chips that day, I would fill the cone first with chocolate chips and then put peanut butter in it. And by the way, it's pretty good.
It sounds good.
It's pretty tasty.
This is, by the way, this feels like it's a crazy thing that this was your break treat from doing your 24-pointer. This is I deserve a treat.
No, well, it's only if I was sad, because I'm not a big dessert guy. But if I wanted like a sweet treat,
sugar endorphins.
Yeah, something to like, because sugar, especially if you don't have it all the time, kind of gives you like that hit of like, oh, I feel good now, like some energy. Yes. I was tired all the time because it took like more energy than normal just to walk from one building to another. This was also at a time where I had a young woman give me a haircut on campus who was not good at giving haircuts, and she like she buzzed me. So it was like I had an uneven buzz cut and was limping around, so I looked like I had wandered out of like a cancer ward. I had rings under my eyes because I wasn't sleeping. Like,
welcome to the laboratory.
Yeah, I looked bad. And also, it was during that period where I owned a leather jacket. It didn't fit me perfectly, so it looked like I had also lost a lot of weight.
Oh, no.
No.
The biggest thing that can help you with clothes is not like content, but fit. The fit of the clothes is more important than what you're wearing.
That's a pro tip from old Igor himself, Marty Abbe-Schneider.
Marty, you've answered all of our critical questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
You're out of the woods. Let's talk a little bit about City of Mirrors. How have you had...
By the way, not to critique what you guys are doing here. The poop...
No, I want vicious feedback.
The poop
right
one.
Now.
The poop question wasn't one of the critical questions.
No, we know you love talking about that.
Marty, from our experience, we have never gone a 4-hour period with you where you have not told a story like this. So we put it into the normal pile because that just says who you are more.
Again, you guys to know you, right?
You guys are two of my dearest friends who I feel comfortable around. I'm not going to go into a job interview and be like, so that was my 3rd hour on the toilet. And at this point, I'm shaking my right leg.
I feel like you would.
But...
No, after I get the job, I'll talk about it freely at work. But
there you go.
There we are. There we are. There we are. And there we are.
Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Let's talk about
Darringcroft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience so far. How is it? We obviously have a lot of episodes that haven't come out yet, so we won't talk about anything past episode 1. But have you been having a good time playing him? What's the experience?
I'm having such a blast playing Theobald Darringcroft. I think on an earlier members only, I maybe said that like my favorite character up to this point was Vivian Stoker, and I loved playing Vivian. But in general, I think I really love a character where I can like dive in and like do some backstory stuff or come up with like a hard and fast, like this is like the character's demeanor. This is like how he feels and stuff, usually. And I had just finished watching Ted Lasso around when I was building up Theobald, and it's like it's an action adventure season, and I think it's fun for him to be like a kind of an old, disgraced millionaire with... Like, I think that vibe, which was a requirement, it goes nicely with sort of an unflappable, like, super optimistic, like, everything is an adventure guy. Yeah. Like Theobald is just as excited to go to a new restaurant as he is to go discover the lost cave of like whatever. Like that's a really fun character choice, and it was like a really easy one to make because it just sort of went with, you know, everything we want, and we want it to be like a fun season, and I think that helps add to the fun.
Yeah, I think it's a very fun dynamic that you don't really see as much as you'd think in D&D parties. I think having like a character who is just like nonstop yes-anding what's happening, like not like yes-anding the like other players' roleplay necessarily, but like seeing like the DM throw something fucked up at you and being like, my favorite, like
hell yeah. Which, and by the way,
this.
Like we've talked about this all the time. I think the best people we have on Hero Club and the best seasons and everything are like it is when they're good at improv, or when it becomes good improv. When everybody yes ands and keeps the scene going instead of going for either like the easy joke or trying to do just what their character wants. It in regular D&D and in Hero Club, it always just makes it a better experience. And that is a really fun thing about Theobald, is he is like a character who in life is just yes-anding everything. And another thing about like the party, he gets the party together in the first episode. I won't say what happens after that, but he like I am so excited about this group in the show, and it's fun to have Theobald like he put the group together and is so excited about this group, and he's kind of like, these are 4 friends I just made. Like he already knows Vanya, but like these are like this is my team. Like it's fun to have like that dynamic.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Theobald's a ranger, right?
Yeah, I think he's a gunslinger ranger.
Gunslinger ranger, right?
Well,
and that's based off of his backstory as well, right?
Yeah, so I can pull up some backstory stuff, but he basically, I tried to give him like a good sort of former military man, England in the 1800s thing without having it be too colonial, which is hard. And I didn't look that hard at what the Boer War is, but the war he mainly fought in was the Second Boer War in South Africa, which is against I think like Dutch colonists. I don't really know, but it was
a lot of weird, random imperialistic wars that England took place in. Right.
I'm sure it's plenty. I'm sure it's plenty colonial, but like he's a former Northumberland Fusilier. In the 5th Northumberland Fusiliers. I might have it that he was in the First Boer War, actually. I'm looking at my whole, like, I've got notes on my phone.
He was in definitely a Boer War.
It doesn't really matter, but basically he's like he loves, he has always loved adventure and going out and proving himself, and what better way to do that than on the field of battle. Like, but he's at the same time, he loves to read, and he's like super well read and knowledgeable. Like if he hasn't done it, he's read about it. Like that's kind of his deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun dynamic to have, like I feel like it's not very often that in a D&D party the martial archetype is the brains, and this is like a D&D party where you are the brains and also a ranger. So it's it's a very funny, like, it's not like the old wizard who reads all the books. We're like, it's a guy.
Because we limited our magic selection at the beginning of this. We weren't no magic users, so somebody had to be martial in a way.
Yes.
Or like brainy in a way.
It's a fun thing to not have like an intelligence-based combat character have to take the intelligence stats and use them because they're so essential to the story.
Yeah, and I would find that in doing, like, in D&D in general, that's a really fun way to break from your character's archetype, is to have them, like, be either have a really high skill or just have a thing they're good at and into besides what they are. Like, if a guy's
have hobbies.
if a guy's
have hobbies.
if a guy's a barbarian,
yes.
give him something else he loves besides fighting and drinking and fucking. Like,
yeah, give him like casually like botany, and he has like nature and healing checks and stuff that
like,
he can do.
I'm about to play a one-off with my future brother-in-law, and he's a paladin. I'm playing as a straight up and down classic dwarven cleric, but he still loves drinking and partying, even though he's a man of God.
Yeah.
Which, like...
Fun priest.
Yeah, fun like,
priest.
I'm going for, like, a cool pastor.
Yes.
Cool youth pastor who loves to get fucked
He'll
up.
have a couple Mike's Hard Lemonades at the old picnic.
Yeah.
Blood of Christ, hey.
Yeah, something I'm
Blood of the sun god Pelor.
But yeah, I think that...
Well, this...
Oh, go ahead.
This has been like your first time in like the driver's seat of a party too, and you're crushing it. It's
Thank
gonna be
you.
Really fun for the
Audience.
listeners to hear where Theobald drives this thing.
Oh, yeah, it's such a fun season already. I'm so excited.
It is such a great season. I can't wait for everybody to hear. I mean, the opening, the prologue has everything, but it's like not even close to how crazy it gets. That's like such a like...
little sampler.
Well, we could say that the prologue is the color gradient on top of our season.
Yeah, and then the rest of the season...
And with that, Marty, it's been great talking to you.
I didn't even think about that story. I was like, that's a great thing, and the rest of the season is us blending those colors together without thinking about the poop
detail.
thing.
The
You
worst
guys...
fucking detail you could have said.
I tell
Marty,
that story, and then I wipe it from my memory. It's like I don't
stop
remember.
saying wipe.
Fun
Stop
fact.
saying wipe.
Fun fact. That's also the story that I'm gonna tell in your eulogy. if you do not outlive me, which is highly more likely.
Nah, you got to
Well,
pick
you
a poop
guys hit
story you
70,
were there
you
for.
guys have like a murder pact. You guys all like kill each other at 70. right?
Well, if we survive to 70.
Why are
If
you
you
saying?
survive to
Why are you
70.
saying you all, George? As if you're not part of this.
Am
pact.
I in this?
Of course you're in
You
it.
are now.
You signed
Gotta
the
go take
paperwork.
archery. I did.
You cut your
Oh,
hand.
That's what that was.
You signed it with blood.
Don't you remember the ceremony, George?
No, there was so much smoke and funny smells.
Wait, can I say one more thing about the season that Nick, you actually...
Yeah, hell yeah.
You say this all the time, Nick, and I think this is kind of what Nick says to the guest when he brings them on to help give them an understanding of like what the party dynamic is, and I really love it. You describe the season as all the like the characters, the main party are Indiana Jones split up into the party. So everybody like is one thing of Indiana Jones, and Theobald
One
is
subsect of
and Theobald, if anything, is like he's like the
professor.
I've done the professor thing. I've read about all this stuff. He's Indiana Jones at the beginning of the movie when the guys come and ask about the Ark, and he's like, "Here's
when that girl has like stuff written on her eyelids.
yeah,
to
love
flirt
you
with
written
him
on
in
her
class.
eyelids." My favorite part about that scene is actually everyone talks about the girl with the stuff written on, but there's at the very end, the class of all young women walks out, and one dude like sort of speed walks out at the end, but puts an apple on the
that's great.
on
I
the
never
desk,
noticed that.
and I'm like, oh yeah, that dude wants to fuck Indy for sure.
Hell yeah.
And
Yep.
like, great move with the apple. Shoot your shot. Like,
Shoot your shot with the
Shoot
apple.
your shot, my man.
yeah.
That's some erotic novel shit. Nice. Good move, bro. Good move, man.
I love that so much. But yes, that is a very funny thing about all of our characters. We are all it's funny just having Bones be like only an adventure, only the hero part of Indiana Jones, but none of the other cool stuff. And like we have a thief who is just the bag being taken out for the idol part. And we have Vanya, who's our destroying lost cities before we can take them to a museum part.
Yeah.
Marty, where can people like find your stuff or commission you to do some incredible artwork for them?
Yeah, because
Well-
that's something that I know we've talked about a little bit, and you have on your thing, but you commission D&D artwork all the time, or you can be commissioned for D&D artwork all the time, and it's very great. If you want your character from your home game to be done in the style of artwork that Hero Club is done in, hit Marty up. It's really incredible. I know a lot of people who have done it, and I've done it multiple times.
Thank you, guys. So if you want to see my artwork, the best place to do that is probably Instagram. That's the most up-to-date stuff. That's where you'll see like this season of Hero Club's illustrations. I'm
And what's that
MAR.
handle?
I was getting to it, Nick. It's Marty period Abbe-Schneider, my last name with no hyphen. So Marty period Abbeschneider. I wish it was an easier last name to spell and have in handles, but I was born right before the internet really took off, and my parents decided
no
to
forethought.
No, it's an all right name. So that's where you can find me on Instagram, and then my website is martinsmenagerie.com. That is where you can still see some of my other artwork. I've got it a little more organized in terms of like types of artwork, but it's also where you can commission characters. So just like you would order something online, you can go to the order page, and right now I offer full body illustrations for characters and portrait style illustrations. The portrait ones are really good for like a character sheet or any sort of like profile page if you want just like a
token on Roll20.
Yeah, like a chest up, something like that. And I really should work on getting party lineups in there as an item as well. But yeah, right now I've got full body illustrations and chest up portraits.
And you can add in with options for like familiars and
you can, if for like a little bit extra, you can add a mount to the big one or familiars to the portrait one. Familiars on, if they're small enough on the illustration, they can be free. That's martinsmenagerie.com, like a menagerie of characters or of creatures. Martin's like my full name, Martin, possessive, Martin's Menagerie.
Well,
thank you,
Marty,
yeah.
Was
that thorough enough?
All the way. That was very thorough.
Crystal clear, baby.
That was as thorough as your description of your poop from the story.
Great. If I'm going to be that thorough
stop returning
on the poop thing, I have to be more thorough on how to find me.
That's
Jesus
true.
Lord.
That's very true.
Oh, and obviously, anyone who runs any television shows on any major networks, please hire me and Nick.
Shoot your shot, baby. Drop that up.
We're really
listening, and you heard that poop story, and also all that stuff.
And we're like, man, what a well-told story.
Yeah, there's more where that came from, baby.
Man, Act 2 really
Let's
got
just
me.
taste.
Act 2, the Act 2 fall where the color was described. Then you will, you'll love our stuff that we put more thought into.
All right, everybody. Make sure you tune in next Tuesday, for City of Mirrors episode 2, where you're going to hear Marty on that episode, as well as the both of us, Nick and I.
And that's guest Jack Quaid on that. That'll be really fun.
Oh, hell yeah.
Jack's going to come guest on that. We'll probably talk to Jack for the next members only about his appearance on episode 2 if we can. But if not, we'll talk to him about it at some point in the coming weeks. Yeah, guys, thanks for listening all of this time. Our downloads have been so awesome.
It's been such
really awesome. Thanks for sharing it with your friends if you are.
Yeah, such a nice little bump with this season, and it's really heartwarming to know that people stuck with us and then some through this nightmare hellscape time that we're living in. And if this is randomly your first time ever listening to us, we do a normal show that's a D&D podcast where we real play, record that, and then edit it down with sound effects and music, different genres and seasons every time. And you can find us at Hero Club Podcast on all the socials and heroclubpodcast.com for all updates and to listen to episodes. So give us a shout out.
And on Tuesday nights, you can also check out our Twitch show live, twitch.tv/hero_club, where we play a live play game live for a virtual audience. That takes place in the same universes of one of our seasons that came out. So if you want to come hang out with us live, you can do that there as well.
I can't believe you guys made me tell that story.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah, that's where we're going to end, Marty.
I can. It's not hard. If I say, like, my tummy hurts, you're like, let me tell you of the time.
You volunteered it freely and excited when we asked you about it. There was not even any body language resistance from you. And we were like, tell us about that story.
No.
You were like,
I said,
I don't want to waste it because I
said,
want to tell it in a bigger venue. But fine, I'll tell it here. No, your quibble was not telling the story. It was saving it for a larger and more enthusiastic audience.
Yes.
Yeah, more enthusiastic being the key, where they come for the poop stories.
They came for the poop
No
stories.
one here wants to hear that.
We'll title the episode Marty Tells a Poop Story.
Great.
So people know.
Good.
People really warned.
I'm sorry,
well
everyone.
Tune in next week, everybody. Thank you so much, and have a good week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Welcome to Hero Club, members only. Glad to have you. This is where we talk about all the things that we don't get to say on the show, 'cause that's not our thing. Welcome to Hero Club, members only.